Hey guys, Scott Patton here, and this is what's happening on Chickamauga. You know, we're going towards the end of July. It's been really hot, as everybody knows, hot and dry. We haven't had much rain at all. A lot of clear days and pushing 100 degrees. In the last couple of days, it's kind of cooled off some. We got rain coming in. We've had a lot of rain last night and some scattered stuff the last couple of days. It's really changing. This is really going to change the bite a lot. And it's going to change it. The lake's been fishing good. It's been a morning deal most of the time, but it's been fishing good. But with this weather coming in, like in the next 7 to 10 days, it's really going to make the fish do some different things, and it should really help that big fish bite a whole lot. I like this time of year with this kind of weather. In the previous years, I've always done good. I got on some really big fish, and the quality that I've caught on this type of conditions we're having the next 7 to 10 days is going to really turn those big fish on. And I know the high school championship and everything's down here this week on Chickamauga. It's one reason I'm putting this out there to help some of you guys out. Some of you came down and practiced, some of you didn't get to come down and practice, so you're kind of going green. And that may help you as much as anything. Only thing that might hurt you is if you're not familiar with the lake. I know from going to lakes I've never fished, that takes time, and just get out early, you guys, and spend as much time as you can on the water and cover water in order to help you guys that didn't get to come down here and pre-fish. Now, some of you guys that did come down and pre-fish, if you fish grass, the grass is, it grows, of course, and the closer it gets towards the surface, the faster it grows, and the reason it does that is because it's getting more sunlight, and trust me, it's had plenty of sunlight. So I've seen in the last 2 or 3 weeks a lot of areas that I was able to fish that it's almost grown all the way to the surface, and it moves that bait and it moves those fish when it does that. And it's not real complicated, so don't, if you've been down here and practice and you go in areas that you caught fish in and it's like it's all matted up, you're like, wow, this completely changed. Don't panic on that. A lot of times all you gotta do is just adjust to that grass, maybe move out or further down in those areas and find that break line in that grass, and because more likely that's where you found those fish at when you was here before. Find that break in that grass, and that's where you're gonna find those fish and find the bait. And it's all about the food source, you guys. These fish that's, especially up in the river or up on the main, even down the main lake and stuff, that live in the grass year round instead of moving out on the ledges and stuff. And trust me, there's a lot of fish that do that. They live in this grass year round. They're just going to move out because the bait's moving, and they're going to just move where the bait is. And if you pay attention when you're down here fishing and stuff on your active target or your depth finders, even visibly, because the water's real clear, you can see a lot of bait in these areas. We do have like a migration of the shad. I've noticed in just the last few days. I drive across 60 every day from where I live when I go to the lake on guide trips and stuff. I've been seeing it, the bait's up on the surface and it's coming off that main lake and it's starting to migrate. You can see that on those slick mornings and stuff like that, especially at daylight and in the afternoons and stuff. So that's a late summer pattern, and that's where we're at right now when that bait starts leaving those ledges. And they start their fall migration. So, and I'm not saying all the baits are migrating, but I'm telling you, it started. Anytime any of you all that are driving across the lake and you look out there, if it's slick enough in the mornings, evenings, you're going to see those balls of shad that ripple out there on that water, on that slick surface. That's your bait starting to migrate. So let me kind of dig into what I've been doing and what I think that will probably play a big role into this next week, especially. Number one, forecast, you guys. You got to look at that forecast. And to me, going at the 7 to 10 day forecast, we got scattered rain, even heavy rains and stuff like that. So that's going to completely change what's happening on the lake some too. And it's going to change to the good. At least for me, I like it. Now, them guys that fish in ledge and stuff like that, I just think it's going to make that bite a little bit tougher. Not to mention that's not been tough just because all the extreme pressure it receives throughout the whole summer, and we're going into late summer, so them fish have been caught and chased and chased and chased. and trust me, they know they're being chased. So let's kind of dig into it. You know, topwater bite, you guys, is going to play a big role. We've caught a lot of good quality fish on topwater, and caught some big fish on it. I think it's going to get better. Anytime you're fishing down here and you're having these red sails passing through and stuff like that, that turns these fish on. It just turns them on really good. And whether they're, you know, I can be in an area and catching 1 to 3.5 pound fish on topwater and on baits, but then all of a sudden these red sails will come through or get close to you, and all of a sudden you're catching, you know, 4, 6, 7 pound fish. So pay attention to that. And one thing I would do, if you got an area that you really feel really got some quality fish in it, you found some good fish in it, if you have this weather come through, run to those areas, you guys, especially those red sails. I'm telling you, I've done it too many times on guide trips, and you'll bust them. But it's just taking an opportunity of the situation and the weather that you got to put yourself in those spots to catch those big fish. And it's going to mean a lot this week in you guys in your tournaments and stuff. So be aware of that. Pay attention to it. Pay attention to the surroundings, what's going on with the weather, and I guess you can watch, you know, I don't know if you can watch your cell phones or not, but a lot of times you may not see these sails coming over. You know, a lot of times you might all of a sudden start hearing thunder, you know, because of the mountains out here. So if you're allowed to watch the Weather Channel throughout the day, and the weatherman's calling for this to happen, you know, watch for those sails getting ready to pass through. That way you can run and get in those spots where your best areas are and fish them during those sails, okay? So topwater's been good. I've been throwing a lot of different topwaters. It's not been one topwater bait that's dominated at all. You know, I've been throwing walking baits, I've been throwing whopper ploppers, and I've been throwing frogs, okay? So, and I recommend you having all those on. And I've been throwing different ones, so it's not one that's going to dominate, and you got to keep an open mind on it, guys. You know, like right here, this is like a walking stick bait right here, and I've done good with it. Just walking it spits a lot of water. If you got chop on the water and stuff like that, a lot of times it depends on the wave action. If I got wave action, I'll go to these bigger baits. Of course, you can catch bigger fish on these bigger baits. If it's choppy and stuff like that, I'm gonna go with something that's gonna spit water, like this bait here, or Lucky Craft Gunfish. And if it's a little bit more slick, then I will go to this Strike King Sexy Dog. I'll go to this. It walks, but it doesn't spit and make as much commotion. If it's a little bit, you know, just a ripple in the water like that, I'll go to this type of bait, you guys, okay? And if you can see, one thing I do is I always add a feather to the weight, to the back of these baits. So when you're walking it, because a lot of times this pattern down here is when you want to walk it and stop it, walk it and stop it. And you don't want to, you know, a lot of times you just don't want to fish this bait too fast. It just seems like what these fish like down here. So what happens is when you stop that and you got a ripple on the water, you stop it and let it pause there for 5 to 10 seconds. That bait's still bouncing around in that wave action like that. And that feather, if you watch that feather in the water, it's moving. So it looks like the tail of a fish moving, and it just makes that bait look more real. And a lot of times I just think that helps you get those bigger bites and catch bigger fish on it. Now if it's been real slick and stuff like that, because there's a lot of, this year's fry isn't real big, and a lot of fish are feeding on it. And so that's where I've done with the Lucky Craft Gunfish. This is the 95. I've done really good on it. It was actually out the last couple of days, and we were throwing the big, you know, some was throwing the big bait, some was throwing the smaller one, and the small one was way out fishing the bigger bait, just because it was slick on the surface, you guys. It didn't have all the wave action and stuff like that. We had cloud cover, but it was slick, but they were definitely eating this one more. And it's just because of reading your conditions and working your bait towards what's going to be more realistic in the water. Sometimes, because it's like so clear, these big baits, sometimes these big baits, if it's slick out there, you throw a big bait, you might get some bites, but if you downsize on that top of a bait, you're going to get more bites because it looks, they can't tell it's not as real as they can a real big bait with all those hooks and stuff dangling down through there. So I'd have couple different sizes on. Seemed like everything's been more of a, you know, in the shad pattern. So anything shad pattern, You know, bone's been good, white's been good. So any of your shad patterns have been real good. And two, you know, a lot of times on my guide trips, I got guys that just can't walk a bait real good, and we've been throwing the whopper plopper, been throwing it in white and black. It seems like the white one's been more dominant here the past week as far as getting more bites, but my guys been throwing that out, just throwing it out there and reeling it back in, just like a buzz bait. Don't over buzz this thing, you guys. I have so many guys want to throw that thing out there, and you know, the bites are scattered. You know, it's not like you're not going to get 5 bites out of 10 casts. These fish are in areas, but they are scattered out. So fishing that whopper plopper, throw it out there, get that certain plop, 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 plop sound. That's what makes this bait so good. Just don't overfish it as far as, and I'm saying don't fish it too fast. I'll throw this a lot of times on all my topwater baits. You throw them a braid, which is good if you're making long casts, especially in the grass and stuff like that. And I do a lot, but a lot of times I'll still throw them on monofilament also, you know, and don't go too light line, you guys. If you're throwing mono, I wouldn't do nothing no less than 17, 20 on your bigger baits. And then if I'm throwing the Lucky Craft, just a 95 gunfish, I'll throw it on 15 mono, or I'll throw it on, say, you know, 30 pound, 20 or 30 pound test braid, because if you get too heavy a line on this bait, the bait's not going to have the action that it actually has built into it. So your line will kill that walking action in that. So on the smaller topwater baits like this, you want to go to a smaller line, 20 pound, 20, maybe 30 pound braid. As far as mono, I do 15 is what I do with it. So I can throw this thing on 15, so get the distance out of it, and it walks just fine, and I got a little extra strength versus going down to, say, 20. All right, so that's another topwater bait too, is you guys better have a frog tied on too if you're fishing in the grass. They've been eating the frog. I've been throwing it in, you know, in the bone color, been throwing it black, but you know, even white would be good too. But you know, the frog's it's not one I've been keeping in my hand all the time, but if I get in some of those areas where that grass is starting to mat up, but it's still got isolated, you know, areas around it and stuff like that, just a small mass and stuff like that, we've had some good days throwing that frog out there where you can't throw that, you know, walking bait or that, or, you know, the treble type topwater bait. I can throw that frog in those areas and still catch fish in that thicker grass. It's still sparse, but it may have a mat or something on it, and I throw that frog and just popping, and I'm walking that frog a lot too. Again, with the frog, I'm walking it, popping it, stopping it, letting it set, walking, popping it, letting it set. Always throwing that on 50 pound test braids while I throw it on, using my power rod. This is a 734, I think it is. I like that extra length, and I like the backbone in this for throwing the frog. So the next thing is too, you guys, you know, they've been eating a chatterbait real good. You know, I usually kind of throw it a little bit more later in the mornings. Seem like after that topwater bite, especially if the cloud, you know, if I got the cloud cover in the rain. But I just throw, you know, there's a couple different colors I throw. This one right here is actually, you know, a jackhammer. It's more of a clear shad color. That's been good with the nickel blade. And another one they like a lot down here too is that golden shiner chatterbait or jackhammer. It works good down here too. You definitely got to have those tied on. So, you know, I'm just throwing it in that little bit deeper grass, anywhere from 2 to 5 foot deep. Is what I'm doing with that bait right there. One bait other too, you know, especially with these storms coming through, is I've had some guys throwing spinnerbait some, and they caught some good fish on them on that spinnerbait. So I would definitely have that tied on as well. You need wave action, you guys. If it gets windy, you got wave action, that spinnerbait, because a lot of guys just don't throw it no more. And I just think these fish just don't sit like they used to. So a spinnerbait can shine for you too, just especially as much pressure you guys are going to have. That's something else too, is, you know, with all the pressure with you guys, sometimes you're fishing something a little bit different can make a big difference on the fish you're going to catch in, you know, fishing behind people and stuff like that. Sorry, I got a text coming in on my phone there. But still with the spinnerbait too, I don't have skirts on this one here too, but because we have a lot of small fry this year's fry is starting to grow, and you know, the fish are feeding on it and stuff like that. Like I said, I don't have any skirts on these. I just pulled them out of my box, but I throw a lot of small compact spinnerbaits to you guys this time of year. And just because it's small don't mean it's only going to catch little fish. There's just times that's just what they're focusing on, is that smaller bait. And throwing that smaller spinnerbait in those areas, you know, they'll eat that thing. And I've mostly been throwing white, a little bit of, maybe just a little bit of chartreuse in it. But anyways, that small compact spinnerbait can help get you some few extra bites too, you guys. You know, again, you know, and I tell everybody all the time, your Neko rig, your wacky rig, whatever you want to call this, like I said, I got that 1-inch nail on the end of this thing. This just puts so many fish in the boat. You gotta have that laying beside you, you guys. If you get one blow up and miss the top water like that, a lot of times you throw this Senko in there and you catch that fish. But I'm fishing this thing too. If you get it later in the day and we lose our cloud cover and the sun comes out, or just, you know, any of these areas, because I mean, I'm just telling you, this thing just catches fish on this lake. And it's so many days guiding that this is what we end up catching them on all day long, just because they're not chasing those bigger baits. All right, you guys, you know, sorry about that. But anyways, you know, this wacky rig or Neko rig Senko is something you just wanted to make sure you have in your hand. And, you know, like I said, if the sun comes out and stuff, then this is going to play a big role, you know, fishing that grass. And I don't care if you're at the lower end of the lake or if you're up in the river, this is going to play a big role as far as catching fish throughout the day for you. So, got that right there. And I think that one last thing I've got to talk about is going to be, we've been having some nice fish on a glide bait. Okay, so this is something that we've been throwing around in some areas. I know where some quality fish live around, lay down trees and stuff like that. Going back in some of these back in the creeks too, we've had a couple good fish, and I'm calling, you know, 4 or 5 pound fish. You know, let's come out and hit this off some stumps and stuff like that. I know too. So I just think this is going to be a good bait to have tied on and fish once you maybe have your, you know, a decent limit and stuff like that. You know, I know it's a team tournament, so you know, one of you guys might want to keep this thing out in the water, because it can get you that one big, you know, 7-8 pound bite that can make a big difference. And that's kind of what I've been doing this week, you guys. Like I say, with the weather rolling in this week, I'm hoping that it's going to help you guys catch more fish and have a good tournament. I wish everybody good luck, and I appreciate you watching. And if anybody's got anything that they've been doing that I'm not talked about, leave it in the comments. Let me know how you've been catching your fish, how the lake's been fishing for you guys. And again, good luck to everybody. Thanks for watching.